Okay, I think we're live now.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi everybody. I warmly welcome all you guys to the AppFollow product webinar. I am the head of customer support at AppFollow and one of your hosts today. This is the first webinar for our downloads and revenue tool, and I am quite excited that we are about to introduce our brand new feature to you. My colleague Vlad, our product manager, and I are very glad that you are all here with us today. And he's probably more excited than I am because all the things we're going to share with you during the webinar based on Vlad's research. And the main tool we will show you is the part of AppFollow that Vlad's team built. Well, what's up, Vlad? How are
Hey
you?
guys, thanks for this cool introduction. Yeah, I'm pretty much excited here because it's actually my first time showing you my product, and kind of my experience dealing with this stuff that I'd like to share with you today. So I'm good. I'm glad you're all here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vlad. Well, guys, say hi to us in the chat room. We will be glad to see you. Well, it is really nice to see all the attendees with us today. Even we don't see your faces, it's going to be interesting to have a conversation with you. Well, feel free to share your opinion and ask your questions in the chat. Let's continue. We have some AppFollow customers on the call, but for those who are new to us, we are going to start with short, brief background on who we are and what we do. After that, we will dive into the main topic, how to measure your app performance and start winning in stores. We will share with you some use cases, interesting points and features that are available to you to measure your app success in stores. Wrapping up with a look into the upcoming feature, downloads estimations, which is designed to help you with tracking market trends. I want to set up today by providing a brief overview of AppFollow and its abilities for the folks who are less familiar with our company. AppFollow got started as an App Store optimization service in 2016. Since then, we help developers improve their App Store visibility and drive more organic traffic and downloads. A year and a half after that, we launched a reply to view feature to App Store and the Google Play Store. Now AppFollow provides the ability to reply to reviews in 6 stores, and we are the only company that managed to automate the work with user reviews in mobile stores. At the end of last year, our brand new feature, downloads and revenue, showed up for our first beta testers, and we've been improving and developing new things for the downloads and revenue tools since then. Well, downloads and revenue provides you with understanding your app file better and help you with tracking release performance. Moreover, you will have the ability to get all the data you need in our dashboard or free email reports, and even using our API or simply exporting data to Excel. And finally, all the features are designed to help you with managing your mobile app business in one single service. Today, we're going to share with you what we have done to make your work with app metrics easier, how you can get a vision of your app's performance and optimize your app strategy. Basically, we're going to talk about the last 4 points there. This webinar is for the folks who are collecting preparing and analyzing tons of reports about downloads and revenue in App Store Connect and Google Play Console. We will talk about how to cope with the difficulties of collecting data from both stores and how you can make it easier. Vlad will show you the difference and similarity in metrics in stores and recommend you the better way to read the data stores provide. At the end of the webinar, we're going to open up a bit our downloads estimations feature that is coming really soon. And of course, we will have Q&A session, but you don't have to wait till the end to ask us anything you want to know about consoles or metrics or our service. We will find a way to answer an interesting question during the webinar, of course. So feel free to ask us in the chat. Okay, it is time to dive into why we're here today. Well, mobile business is becoming increasingly difficult from year to year. That is spread between different stores, app stores, consoles, and devices. And it may take really long time before you find something interesting in a pile of data. I'm about to hand over the virtual microphone to Vlad, who will be better able to spread some light on the situation with consoles and app store difficulties, and show you how you can handle all the crucial metrics in a single dashboard.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vera. Yeah, actually, as you already said, as the app market grows, the infrastructure around it becomes even more and more complicated, especially when dealing with the app performance and the metrics tracking. So now, of course, you can use tons of services and even get some metrics straight from your device, but the App Store console still remain like the main source of app data for you. So when you just come first time to working straight with console data, you can have like questions or even be frustrated by what's inside. And that was pretty much my case, because aside of being a product owner here at AppFollow, I also have an app portfolio of my own apps. And just first time dealing with the App Store consoles, I had a lot of questions. I've been kind of frustrated. So for example, what is actually wrong in my opinion with consoles? For example, on the App Store Connect case, when you just try to work with your metrics at App Analytics section, you just understand that it actually doesn't provide you relevant downloads figures. Because what you can see there, for example, in the usage section, what is called installations, is just an opt-in data for around 30 to 50% of your installs. And what is like the original part of downloads here is what's called app units at sales part. But the tricky part here is you just can't break down this data by app version, which is, I believe, crucial part here when you work with your downloads. Another case which was kind of strange for me when I started to dealing with consoles is that you can get like tons of reports for exporting, but at the same time, none of them is actually explained for you as a user. Let's just, even though the payments and sales reports, there are like 3 sections there. You can download 3 different reports for subscriptions, but all of them are actually different. You can just get both the same and different metrics from them, and none of them are actually explained for you. And that's also tricky. And of course, dealing with Google Play Console, it's also difficult for you because even in the case of downloads, it's like tons of metrics, daily active installs, total installs, and some other else. And Google Play Console never actually cares for you as a user to explain how to choose the correct one, how to work with them. And it also another tricky point here. And in case of Google Play, what we just got from the feedback of our clients is that some of the metrics that they get and that are actually important for them are visualized badly or cannot be visualized at all. And that's like the case what they get. So actually, the main question here, in my opinion, is having all these issues around the consoles, how do we actually match the data between them, and how can we work around them to like make our apps better, how to grow them? So I have in my own experience, both in product management and both in app launching, developed some sort of tips that actually helped me before I launched downloads and revenue. So I'd actually like to share them with you. And starting from an easy tip that I believe can be crucial for some metrics, just look for the dynamics here. For example, for downloads, dealing with consoles, it's never just downloads. There are also some like breakdowns in terms of new downloads or re-downloads, updates, metrics, promotional downloads, even organic downloads that are in the ASO section. So just in case of my own app, which is an educational section in Russia, COVID situation and all this pandemic stuff ruined my cultivation of new users. I had a lack of new downloads recently, but actually what I found by looking on the dynamics for several indicators is that updates kind of grow, and it actually solidified my core user base. So I can still say the trend is positive here. The second tip here that I'd like to give you is, of course, keep in mind that consoles are not perfect at all. They have these flaws that I already mentioned, and of course they have like much more flaws. They are just tools, they are just instruments that you can use, but you just have to keep them in mind at all. And for example, some data won't come to you day at day. You just have to wait 1 or 2 days to get this on the actual date you are looking at it. The third tip I'd like to give you as well is having raw reports and experts from console is always more informative and important than just working with the web interface. For example, even before mentioned subscriptions report will give you tons of metrics, like 20 or 30 of them, to just understand how the trials work, where the users churn, etc. And unfortunately, to work with these experts, you either need an analytics team or like tons of free time. And I believe that's not the case for most of you. And last but not the least tip, of course, is try comparing the versions of your app where it's possible, and if you usually tend to publish new versions. Because what I believe in is that a new version of an app is sort of mini A/B testing for you, because you straight up receive new feedback, you straight up understand what are the flaws, so what are the good points of your new version, and just by comparing these versions might give you a good bird level on your strategy to sort of adjust it. Yeah, so pretty much this what actually was in my mind when I started developing downloads and revenue section, and I believe it kind of helped me to make it useful for most of the use cases connected with working with your own app metrics. That's why we actually made downloads and revenue tool that first and foremost might help you manage your business at one unified platform. So if you have an app portfolio both from Google Play Console and App Store Connect, you can see all the metrics all around the consoles at one unified platform just by, I believe, 2 integrations that you just have to add in our section. The second part here is, of course, what I already mentioned. You can just track the release performance at a glance. You can understand what went good and what went bad for each version of your app that you released, and all the key metrics that are distributed all around your versions. Another part of downloads and revenue and its importance, in my opinion, is what already was mentioned by Vera, but I would like to stress it again, is that you can get the data, process the data like in any way possible. You can just use our own API method. You can export the data via CSV or Excel file, or you can now get a brand new email report for daily, weekly, or monthly basis, and all the key metrics for your apps, which consoles, of course, can provide you. And of course, all this actually helps you to understand your app profile better. It actually helps you to understand how you can work around the metrics that are crucial for you, work around the downloads in several breakdowns, work around your sales metrics and other crucial metrics that you have. So what I'd like to do now is give you a quick 2-3 minutes demo around what is downloads and revenue now, because I believe some of you might, or some of you might have not seen what it actually looks like now. So let's just, let me just share the screen, and I'll just dive you into what we actually developed throughout last month. So yeah, it's just a demo mode of downloads and revenue at its current stage. We just have, sort of say, demo apps, several demo apps, just to show you the interface, a quick glance at it. So what we have here now at downloads and revenue is actually a bunch of metrics that we process from the App Store consoles, like net revenue, updates numbers, uninstalls, etc., which can be actually visualized in a certain ways. Let's say, for example, that you'd like to see the distribution of net revenue to understand which app from your app portfolio gave you the most value at 13 months. And you can see that, for example, this demo app number 3 gave you around 50% of your net revenue in the January. That's pretty much cool, I believe, to understand it in 2 or 3 clicks, how it all works around. What we also have here is, of course, an app summary table, which allows you to choose any metrics that you like, that you are searching for, and understand how they are distributed all around your apps, how the dynamics go, and of course, compare it and visualize on these charts. And as I already mentioned, of course, we have all the exporting options, the beta version of our API, a brand new email report, and exporting options that you can use if you'd like to. So that's pretty much what downloads and revenue looks like now. And I'd like to show it on the live data, but I believe this glance is already enough for you to just understand how it all works around. But what I like to stress here at this presentation is how actually the metrics are distributed now. I just give you 3 basic examples on how do we count downloads and revenue metrics so that you understand that we are actually pretty much focused on giving you the most accurate data that we want, that we all need actually. So dealing with downloads, we understand that app units is the key here. And in terms of Google Play Console, we actually take all the install events possible to provide you with downloads in total divided by platform, new and re-downloads compared to a certain period, and of course, an updates for each app. Dealing with revenue section, of course, we get all the data possible from sales reports and subscription reports. So we will add some subscription metrics soon. And in terms of Google Play, we have the financial report, estimated sales, and some other metrics. It allows us to give you all the breakdowns possible for in-apps and sales metrics, the net revenue, and of course, in terms of uninstalls, which is a tricky part, of course, because App Store Connect gives you only opt-in metrics, and Google Play actually gives you all uninstall events possible. We just collect all the data that we can and just process it to you straight in our interface. So that's what I wanted to actually tell you about the downloads and revenue in terms of metrics and in terms of the interface. How we actually work around the metrics now. But we at AppFollow here also have an approach, sort of say an approach to market trends as another metric that you can rely on, that you can focus on and work around. So that's why I just wanted to first tell you how to start working with downloads and revenue. There are just 3 simple steps. To just connect the downloads and revenue, you just have to give us the right permissions in each console. Having these permissions in your account, just connect it in a couple of steps and wait around 10 or 15 minutes for the data to collect. After that, you can get all the data needed 100% free and start working with downloads and revenue. And what I started discussing with you before, just before this slide, before connecting it, was about market trends and working with competition. Actually, we think that it's pretty much important, and our approach now to work around market trend is a sort of product metric here, and it pretty much helped us to develop a brand new tool called Download Estimates, which I believe will be in beta around the beginning of June. It's like a set of tools for you to work around your competition and understand the market trends and market dynamics. So I'll just show you a quick, so to say, teaser of how this tool works and what we have in there. So yes, as I already said, market trends is the new metric that we are focused on here. And what we have around the download estimates now is downloads index, which is a comparison of your downloads versus the distribution of downloads in a certain category. So what you see here on the screenshot is the distribution of downloads for a certain category. In this case, it's social networking. So you just understand how the downloads distribute throughout the certain period, and you can easily add your own app on this chart and sort of say compare the dynamics of your own app and the dynamics of the category. The second part, which is also important, I believe, is, of course, downloads benchmark. It will help you to estimate downloads that you need to reach top positions in a category. Let's say you are also in a social networking category and you just want to have top end position, like top 100, to get more like features, more organic usage and organic installs. And you might actually understand how much downloads you will need from our perspective and based on our model. But what I personally like the most from this tool, and I believe might give you the most value possible, is what we call download estimates by market. It's like a bird view on the certain country and all possible categories from app stores there. So you can just understand how the whole picture is proceeded there, how are the downloads distributed throughout the categories in this country. Let's say you have like games in the United States, so you can easily understand when are the top points, when are the flows of the downloads there. And what I'm actually proud of here, and what we actually added, I believe, as a unique feature here, is our insights section. It might be seen on the slide here. For example, for certain categories, we, in the collaboration with our analytics team, found like a dozen of insights on how the downloads actually got to the top or got to the minimal point. And we provide these insights basically for most of the categories and work around them really hard. I have my favorite example of such an insight. It might be pretty obvious, but it was really good for me. Since I have an app in the education category, I must also look on the market trends in this category in Russia. So one of the most obvious seasonal trends that we got and we all understood was that at the end of August, at the end of summer, most of the school kids, most of the teenagers and students tend to download much more apps from the educational section. And that pretty much explains the reason why this category emerges and begins to grow really high at the beginning of autumn and at the end of the summer. So pretty much if you just switch your category to education, if you have cross-sectional app, for example, or just launch your own app at that time, you might get a good boost for organic downloads there, just because there are lots of people searching for educational apps. And of course, we highlight the minimal and maximal points for these insights on our estimates charts. So you can just dig into there and work around. So what we have now is a beta for this tool, which I believe we will launch in around 2 weeks at the beginning of June. So you can enroll to the beta of download estimates. And I believe we will give you an opportunity to be the first ones to try it out. And you can just do it at your AppFollow account at the download estimate section. Just enroll to the beta if you'd like it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for the time, for the attention. If you just have any questions, let's just move on to the discussion and discuss them.
Yes, guys. Thank you for being with us today. I was wondering if you have any questions, so we are here to help you to ask anything you want to know. How many months I can see back?
Yeah.
I mean, Lucas is asking how many data we collect from App Store and Google Play.
Understand. We actually collect all the historical data for the Google Play console, all the data available for your apps. And we collect last 12 months for the App Store Connect since the day of your connection, since the day you give us your app integration.
I believe it is quite limitation on App Store side.
Yeah, it's basically the limitation of App Store Connect. Yeah, it's not like our bad.
And the other question from Paul: what is the methodology? Sorry, you used to generate the estimates or competition?
Oh, thank you, Terry, Paul Terry, for this question. We actually take all the data from open sources that we can process, like positions in top charts, the amount of the ratings and reviews, all the open source data from our app stores. And we also, basically, like the foundation of this model is the correlation model, like in most of the estimations and market intelligence tools. But what we also have is like an open source data of the estimates of downloads from Google Play Console, and we also have some data for downloads by the top players of certain categories that accepted to provide us those downloads data, so we could just adjust our model. And we tested on a bunch of apps that were also agreed to provide us those data to build our model, and we found that now it's significantly works for us and pretty much accurate. But what you have to understand here, that we doesn't provide the actual downloads data for your competitors. All we just showed you here is like indexes and the distribution of downloads throughout categories. That's pretty much why we don't violate like any data policies and etc. It's just like our model based on the data that we aggregate. But it proved itself as kind of accurate for most of the categories that we want to provide in beta. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. And Ophelia is asking, does AppFollow show all traffic sources where the app was downloaded, and does it show the whole user journey? I can answer to the first part of the question. We have ASO analysis page on AppFollow, where you can see all sources where the app was downloaded, where the app was seen by customers, by users. As for the last part about the journey, I believe that we don't have this feature for now, but I don't know, do we have plans to do that?
Yeah, we actually do have these plans, but you see some of the things that are usually connected when you are talking about user journey are mostly custom events that you like integrate into your apps and then track via other tools rather than App Store consoles, like for example Firebase or like some other tools that are event-based, so to say, tools. And of course, we have plans to add more user journey specific, so to say, events to track that. But I believe it will happen only in a distant future, maybe in a couple months. No, not like in the nearest one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the last one question from Steve. Does Apple provide downloads per each keyword? Well, Apple doesn't provide the information. Well, every company who provides some kind of keyword estimations build the same feature that Vlad was showing us. We are going to build some kind of keyword estimation, but I'm sorry, but I don't have the ETA for now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like more an ASO part for us, and we are not like proven experts here to discuss it now. Yeah.
Let's wait a bit for another question. I see that Ophelia and Lucas was typing something.
So actually, this question about search keyword downloads is like another thing that reminds me of how imperfect the consoles are, because you just have an ability to provide so many options, so many metrics to deal with, but they just give you 2 or 3, and you just can't do anything with it.
It seems like it's really, really hard to provide some information about keyword estimation or downloads estimation.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You have to handle all the data, all the metrics from different sources. And forecasts, it's always not always the true, and so many things that can be better or worth compared to your results.
Yeah, sure. of course. That's pretty much why it's called estimates. Yeah.
Okay, I see that there's no more questions. Okay, guys, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you for your activity in the chat. Well, stay safe these days. Stay safe and sound. Um, Follow our social media, guys, to be informed about our next webinars. I wish you a lovely day ahead. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a nice time in these difficult times. And never forget that you can easily use our tools 100% free now, especially downloads estimates, which will really need more beta users at the beginning of its launch. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a nice time.
Bye.
Goodbye.